So that's December, the end of 2023. But what board games have we played this month?
And how well did we do on those 10 games that we chose to play over the festive period? Did we get them played?
Hi, I'm Julian, this is Libby, and we are from Box Meeples. So, as always, we are going to go through the board games we played in the most festive of months, December. We've had lots of get-togethers.
We
We've
have
had
had a
family
few,
rounds.
yeah.
We've had the girls have been playing children's games. We've played a whole vast selection of games this month.
Yes, yeah, there's been quite a combo. So we won't be mentioning them all.
No.
As usual, the new and notable. And of course, if they came onto that list that we did previously that we wanted to get played over the festive period, of course, we played more than 10 games over that time. But which ones of those
Specific
did we
10.
actually get to the table?
So yeah, keep your eyes on the screen because we're going to have a running count of those 10.
Oh.
Where, so we'll see.
Check them off.
See how well we've done on playing those
10. Right, let's start off. Let's start off with a fun one. It's new to us. It's a game that you got from, I think, a charity shop or perhaps just like a bargain sort of pound world type shop. It's called Colorology, and it's interesting because some parts of it have been burnt on the fire.
Yeah, so we play the game with the board as intended. Now this is the game I got for I think £1.50. We're going for Dracon, in fact. I picked up this game and I said, can a £1.50 game be good? Well,
and I said no.
Technically, we had a failure with that. We opened a box and there's bits missing, so we couldn't play it then. We played it as intended. Now, single sheet of rules. It was a roll a dice game. You move around a board. Well, someone described a thing, an action, an object with a colour. And they kept this colour off to themselves. Everyone else had to guess what that colour was. And if they're successful, they got to move around the board. We played it. It took about an hour. And we were like, well, let's do this. Come on, board game designers. Not every board game has to involve rolling a dice and using a board. These rules are nonsense. This board is pointless, so they are going in a fire. But the good news is these cards and these cards are going to make for a great party game, so we're going to keep those.
The thing is, the board is completely unnecessary. The counters were unnecessary, but behind it, the card play was actually quite fun. You know, if you have a name of a card says gigantic and you've got a hand of 6 coloured cards in your hand, which helpfully do write the colour name on them as well, which is great. You know, that's interesting. That you can play as a party game. And in fact, we took it to a restaurant and played it before we had a meal and things like that. And you can just play the cards and you can there's quite a good stack of cards, so you can use them as point holders. Just take a card if you've won a point. And that works. That works great.
So much better.
All of the other stuff is just
utter nonsense. So,
padding. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
we took a board game and made it a card game and made it much, much more fun. And now it plays in sort of 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And everyone has a good time.
Yeah, I think it's probably the first and only game that's ever going to make its way to our fire. But
fingers crossed.
Got to start it somehow.
It deserved it.
We played Dark Ages, which was interesting. It was a big play count, that game. I think there might have been 8 of us.
I think there was 8.
A huge board stretching across sort of Europe, and we're each playing a different sort of area and trying to sort of dominate and achieve different bits and pieces. I enjoyed it. It was quite slow at 8 players, and I feel like those that were on. I was sort of top corner of my side of the board, and I felt like I never really saw anyone other than the sort of 2 people that were my neighbours. So I wasn't interacting with anyone the other side of the board. They weren't really coming across towards me. But there was a lot of interesting things in terms of your action options and when your tokens die out and what you can pick up.
It played fast and loose of history. That was certainly for sure. But yeah, you're saying because I don't know if it's because the map was so big. I didn't really feel like I was doing much interacting with anyone really.
No.
And yeah, it was a case of I was exploring because that's what the game encouraged you to do, rather than having any real need to. And I don't think it's entirely balanced.
No, I
Because
was doing quite well. I was the Queen of England.
you're right.
I sort of built myself my churches and everything was great. And someone got one of the special figures which give you a lot of extra powers and basically come ram rolling in and stop me from being able to do anything. And I just felt like that was quite overpowered for one figure to be able to just wipe.
Yeah, another player had a good combination of cards, which allowed them to generate a lot of points from doing very little. They would just take on the barbarian hordes, and they were just generating huge amounts of points to the point where we couldn't actually catch them up. And very, very heavily weighted to building churches and expanding that way, to the point where it wasn't really worth doing much else other than that. But that could have been entirely down to the huge player count.
Yeah, and the cards that happened to have come out. I'd be interested to play that again at a smaller play count.
Yeah.
Because it did take quite a lot of time, being 8 of us. So interesting game, lots of interesting mechanics, but I wouldn't say it was a wow experience for that particular gameplay. Yeah. Of course, we played more Lorcana.
We did.
We played a game of Don't Get Got on Boxing Day with friends and family, which was hilarious.
It was this game, if you don't know, it's a really quirky game where you, as soon as people come through the door and they're going to be with you for a longer period, you each get given 5 individual tasks and 1 general task. And now these tasks could be all sorts of nonsense, such as, take a photo of this card and make someone look at it on social media. It could be get someone to say, "Oh, you should put a coat on."
Yeah, it makes someone demonstrate a dance, or it could be anything. And so you're trying to wrangle into conversation something that will get someone else to do something without them being suspicious that it might be for the game, because the moment they call you out on, is that for the game, you've lost.
You failed your task.
And I managed to win that one, so that was exciting.
It was so much fun. Well. It was so silly because initially everyone's like, "Is that for the game?" That's for the game, isn't it?
Yeah, you're super suspicious, but then as the evening goes on, you kind of half forget about it, and you're kind of intrigued in whatever else that you're doing, another game you're playing maybe, or obviously it's Boxing Day, we had food and bits and pieces, and then someone catches you off guard, and it's just super funny.
The best bit is when you've planned this elaborate ruse out and you go, "Okay, I'm just going to wait for the ideal opportunity to strike." Your brother did this with you by hiding one of the cards in a Christmas present, and it said, "Get someone to unwrap this," and you did, and that was glorious.
Yeah, he's like, "I think there's something else in there." I was like, "No, there's no other present in here." So I think you should look harder, and there's the card there.
Whereas
so
I had a whole,
really funny.
I had a whole ruse planned where I was going to get people all to look out the window and see a fight going on. And I waited and waited and waited, and then a police car went past, and I raced to the door, and I said, "Oh, there's a fight going on, have a look." 2 of you got out of your chairs, ready to poise, and then one person said, "That's for the game."
Fail.
So much fun, so silly.
So fun.
But yeah.
We played Endeavour for the first time, which was interesting, trying to create those different routes and take over different areas and upgrade things. There's a lot going on with all of those little tokens. There's not much to it, but there's a lot of decisions to make.
It's one of those more classic kind of board games, and you're kind of working out, how do I expand, what do I upgrade, and a lot of it, for a very flat looking game without miniatures or anything like that. It does have a lot of kind of complex mechanics and chance that goes into that, and a long-term strategic goal, which you kind of have to work towards, because you can't obviously claim certain things that you've got enough of a presence there.
Exactly.
And it's not often we play those that have that less focus on immediate actions and immediate rewards. So it's interesting to play.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. You played the Advent Calendar, the Silent
I did,
this year.
I really enjoy the Exit Advent calendars they do each year, and this one was a good one. I think I preferred this one to last year's one. So that was a Golden Book, I think it was called. This one's called A Silent Storm.
Yeah.
Interesting twists going on throughout it.
We won't give anything away.
No, because next year you might be playing that. Some of the puzzles were better than others, but that's always the case with these kind of things. And that, I'm sure some of the puzzles that I really enjoyed aren't necessarily puzzles that other people really enjoyed. The ones I loved, they might have hated. but it's good that it caters for all of that.
Yeah, that's what I find so intriguing about those games, that there's ones that you find so intuitive that you sort of solve within seconds, and ones that someone else is stuck on for ages and having to take clues or whatever, and vice versa. And that's, the way different people's minds work, to have an affinity with one type of puzzle over another, or really enjoy one over another. I find that really interesting.
Yeah, and it's nice having an appointment to play. They take no more than 10 minutes a day, but it's always just nice to sit down and play them. We've got to play them with children sometimes, and they're just a fun build up to Christmas.
It's fun, yeah. We played Expeditions again, so second play of that, first time with our copy. Great mechs. We love that artwork of the Scythe world. Obviously, it's a very different game, plays quite differently, but it was a nice game to play it too, actually. And we used the Dice app for that.
Yes, Dice, because we played it before, we'd learnt it before, but it'd been a while since you played it, so you need that kind of refresher, which is what the Dice app is really good for.
Yeah.
And it's such a different game to Scythe, but kind of a different puzzle really to solve. Obviously, it's not as good as Scythe, nor does it tend to be the same game. It's good it isn't. But I really do enjoy playing it.
Yeah,
and I think it's going to be one that just builds and builds.
I love the mech.
Because we've got the Ironclad edition.
Yeah,
I'm so pleased with it.
I played with the Viking ship, of course I did. And it looks great.
Yeah. I think it's a little bit underrated at the moment. I think the legacy of Scythe is almost to its detriment, because people are like, well, it's not as good as Scythe, I don't want to get that. Or worse still, I don't like Scythe, so I'm not going to get that. If it's called something different, you kind of feel like it would get more of a spotlight on it. But it's really great.
Yeah, interesting puzzle to play about, where you're focusing on, where you're getting loads of cards, are you travelling around to take the points off of things. Yeah. I like it. Fox Experiment. We played. Our little fox insisted that we must play it. A great game. Loved that. Can't wait to play it again. And you're sort of recreating the experiment that they actually did with these foxes, trying to see, how they could change the gene pool to see if they could become more domesticated animals or not, which is interesting. So you're trying to sort of enhance those features of droopy ears or bushy tails or different elements of quite barky, makes them more friendly, etc. And I really like naming all of my little pups and trying to see what attributes I could get them to have. I liked the fact that the dice had quite a lot of mitigation. You had these extra things that you can put in to add together, or you could use different things to try to get what you needed from them. So that was quite nice.
And it's certainly not, I don't think people do see it like this. It's not a roll and write in any way.
No.
The rolling is a way of tracking the genes and seeing what comes across, which you then mark on next generation of foxes. So obviously that's entirely different every time you play it, because you have different combinations. Not a roll and write. I don't know why people are calling it that if they are. But yeah, it's another gem from Elizabeth Hargrave. I think eventually I'm going to prefer it to Wingspan.
Oh,
I do really enjoy it.
We played Jamaica, which you got me and the girls for Christmas, which was sort of piratey. Obviously, we've spoken pirate speak the whole way round, and you're stealing treasure from each other if you end up in the same sort of cove, opening up treasure chests and racing round Jamaica. And a really fun game, great one for families.
It's fun. It's £2 in a charity shop, so well worth taking a risk on that. But yeah, it's quick to play, quick to teach, ideally finding fun.
We played Klondike Rush for the first time, one of the Red Raven games, and you're there collecting different ones, putting out these little campsites and things for different things.
Yeah, so it's interesting because there's a director's cut version of it, which I would certainly encourage you to play, particularly with smaller player counts. So go on BGG and find the rules for director's cut. It uses all the components of the base game, but gets rid of the kind of auction mechanism at the very start. And instead you have like a card river. Much better way of playing it. And if you, especially with two players, play it using those rules, and it's a fun kind of worker placement style, collecting game, collect and deliver game. It's interesting, an interesting fusion, and obviously quick to play. But I do miss the narrative. That's what I enjoy in Red Raven
Yeah,
games.
I suppose it doesn't have what you come to know as a Red Raven game now, as all that whole package of story and artwork and everything. It's sort of an element of that, obviously, but without the whole package that you see in some of the more recent games.
Touches on little ideas, but it's more the story you create around it rather than being told this is what's going on.
We played last night Lite, which I absolutely loved. Those planets are amazing. Again, it was a big play count, so I'd like to play that one with a smaller player count and see how that works. Really interesting the way that the kind of board moves partway through the game and changes everything. But you're kind of going out, it's doing that whole 4x thing in less than an hour. It really is doing that.
Trying to watch more. Well, let's discuss that more. It's in our games of 2023. Really great game, and I'm looking forward to. I think the new edition of it is coming out to crowdfunding soon.
So
exciting. That's going
exciting.
to include some expansion bits. So I'll be tempted to look more into that then.
Yeah, absolutely. We played with the girls My Little Scythe, but we've spoken about that quite a lot in the past, but we love it as a kids game. We have actually played Nunatak, the Temple of Ice, but that's more for me for work. So I think you'll probably hear more about that as the translations come through into English language. At the moment, we're sort of mocking up a German version, so we'll speak more about that in the future.
It's potentially going to be a real hit. Some creases to iron out, I think. But I think when it's all working perfectly, it's going to be one people talk about. So keep your eye on Temple of Ice.
Let's have a look at what else we've played.
We finished Andor Family, where we're talking about family games.
Oh yes, we did.
Which is a great. We talked about it so much. It's been a game of the month before for me, but we reached a conclusion of that just in time for the expansion to come out, and we did that actually on New Year's Eve. So it's nice to kind of all gather around as a family and crack that. Beginning to get a little easy for us. So we've reached the end of it, but we've got really good at knowing how the characters work and how to exploit their skills.
Oh, I mean, there were several times when the dragon was nearly in town. So I mean, I don't know what playing.
Well, we knew how to control it. We knew, okay, the dragon's getting close. We need to double down on removing the baddies to get them further away. So I'm pleased the expansion looks like it's going to notch up a little of difficulty, and I'm hoping then we can move to Legends of Andor series.
Yeah, I think they'll be ready for that then at that point, and they won't need the sort of cutesy puppy artwork to engage them and draw them in as that has to start with, and they'll know more about what sort of characters to pick, which will be interesting. Of course, we played Root, mostly online, but what's a Christmas without a game of Root, right? And what's a Christmas without a game of Rebellion?
We did play that.
Of course, we play that. We play it every year around normally Boxing Day. This year we played it Christmas Eve, just to sort of hit that tradition that we always play.
Real nail biter this time.
You
discovered my base relatively early, and I thought, right, it's curtains now. But fortunately, I had lined up lots of kind of rebel schemes that I knew would pay off, which meant that we got actually quite close. And I was able to. I had the best draw for moving my rebel base. I have 4 possible planets. I could have gone to any of them, which is very, very rare. And you obviously didn't know where I was going. And by that point, I had no ships to kind of move around. I'd been obliterated. So you had no idea really of where I was, which gave me kind of 2 turns, I think, grace to kind of get to points. And it got to the point where, obviously, if I had one more turn, I would have won because the tokens would have overlapped, signaling the end of the game. So you had to find my base on the last turn. And you just achieved it. And it was super exciting. That's kind of when it's at its absolute best. I do love Star Wars Rebellion.
Yeah, and it often does end up, one turn between either one of us winning, which is partly what keeps us coming back for it. And we always swap roles as well, which keeps us on our toes as well. So that was, of course, great. We played more Tamashii. We played Viking Seesaw, which we've been loving since I picked it up at Essen. We've spoken about that quite a bit. We played Viticutue World. We've started that.
We did.
That was one of those that was on the list.
Count is still going.
And we played Distilled, which we were supposed to play. So that is good.
Was on the list.
Yes.
And yeah, I do love that game. It was one of my games of 2023 I mentioned, and just playing it again, it's quite natural for us to play it now. We play it with all the expansions, and we just know it kind of well. So it's nice to. I think the secret to really loving that game is the presentation of it all. When you you can do it simultaneously, but I think it's so much more fun to go taking the cards off. We exchanged cards this time, so we knew the shuffling was fair, and then you reveal what you've made, and you integrate a lovely whiskey, and no, it's all gone wrong. You've made some sort of nonsense that no one really wants, and you're sticking it in the best bottle to try and get some money, and you're like, or when you've made a whiskey, and then you're going to price it up. And suddenly it's like, why does it taste of garbage? What was wrong with my oak barrel?
Yeah, and what's funny is when you get these tasting cards that come in, and so we had a goal there that was like, if your drink's worth $15 or whatever or more, and it can be one bad tasting card that stops you from getting that achievement. You're like, surely I'll get that one, it'll be fine. But the fact that it tastes of garbage.
One more reward, I would have got a 50. Oh no, what's a job? But yeah, it's super fun.
But neither of us made moonshine, so we did pretty well.
We got the hang of this game after so many plays, which is probably a good sign. And an expansion for that is coming soon, so we're really looking forward to kind of mixing that in and keeping the game fresh.
Yeah, so that was fab. We're playing Revive tonight. So
we are, so that's counts. On the list. And if we're including another Obsession, we played on BGA. Yes. So are we going to count that towards our...
Let's be lenient. Normally I might say no, but yeah, let's say because Obsession. We have played it.
We have played the entire game on BGA. Didn't table it, but have played the game. So I think we did okay.
Not too bad. Yeah, we have Everdell still to play, and Endless Winter still to play.
So we might we'll try and get those in
by next weekend.
But yeah, so 80% of our goal.
Yes, yeah. Hopefully I have actually mentioned them all. Fingers crossed. But we have played 8 of them, apart from those 2. So
yes, and it's getting, like I said, I've said in the past, actually, in a different video, how it was good to have those goals in there. It did drive us to play, heavier games. And I think someone in the comments said, "Well, why have you picked 10 really heavy games or
at
medium,
least long ones?" Yeah.
We could have said Lorcana and just belt it out because we play it practically every day. We could just have had those easy games in there, but it's good we had the big ones.
I think we wanted to try to get ones that we don't always make time or find the time to do, and we thought that we would maybe have more time over Christmas than we did.
Work slightly got in the way for that.
But sometimes it's good to set a goal of ones that are going to be a bit more tricky to find the time to table. But maybe next year we'll learn from that. And we have been good, and we haven't yet sort of unwrapped some of the new additions that have come in. So we have tried to prioritise those over some of the new bits and bobs.
And despite our haul video, I think we're a little bit restrained this year in terms of what games we've got, focusing really on what's on the shelf.
Oh, except for if you are, keeping up to date with the haul and the collection. Somehow I've ended up getting myself Carvey, which I was super excited about, at Essen, and saw it at a good price at Chaos Cards, and couldn't resist because I was worried there was only 2 left. What if they don't restock?
Well, similarly,
they don't. So an extra Christmas present, an extra December haul.
I can't
here for me.
I can't be critical because I saw the expansion. Well, it's not expansion; it's a rebalancing for Tapestry, which is a game I absolutely love. And I was like, well, and I'm shopping on Stonemaier. And I was like, well, might as well just get some more Rolling Realms in there.
So we're basically saying we're doing super well at not adding too much to our collection.
Yes, we're very restrained, doing well.
Yeah.
But what have you played in December? Do let us know in the comments down below. And how well do you think we actually did on our 10 games to play over Christmas period challenge? I think we did quite well.
Not too bad. Yep. And of course, we look forward to talking to you more in the new year. We'll be coming up with our top 50 games soon, so stay tuned for those. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please make sure you do, or ring the bell so you don't miss those. We would love to see more of you. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, our friendly local game store is Chaos Cards here in the south east of England. Don't forget, your discount code is in the description if you would like to shop online with them.
And if you're using one that's in the description, you'll get and it's saying it's invalid, do check our latest video, if this is the latest video obviously, for an updated code, because we do refresh those, partly so people can keep using new codes, because you can only use the code once on a shop over £35, so by having new codes, new discounts for you, so that's super duper.
Yes. But that's it from us.
That's been
See you next
December.
time. Bye.